First Contact and Revelation. The emergency meeting of the Galactic Council wasn't supposed to happen for another 3 cycles. Yet here they were, 200 of the galaxy's most powerful beings, their forms ranging from crystalline to gaseous, from silicon-based to pure energy, all gathered in the ancient Chamber of Concordance on Nexus Prime. Admiral Sarah Chen stood before them, her weathered face illuminated by the soft blue glow of the chamber's bioluminescent walls. At 53, she wore her salt and pepper hair in a tight military bun, her United Earth Defense Force uniform pristine despite the chaos of the past 48 hours. Behind her, a holographic display showed the remains of the Kraxan fleet, once the most feared pirates in the Outer Rim, now nothing more than debris scattered across 3 star systems. Honorable representatives, Chen began, her voice steady despite the tension in the room. I understand you have questions about what happened in the Outer Rim, about how a single human vessel managed to defeat a fleet that has terrorized our trade routes for decades. High Chancellor Zixtal, their crystalline form refracting light in patterns of agitation, spoke first. Questions. Their voice resonated through the chamber's translation field. Admiral Chen, we demand explanations. Your species joined our coalition barely 50 years ago. Yet you've somehow developed technology that surpasses our most advanced warships. Chen nodded, tapping a command into her neural interface. The hologram shifted, revealing a massive vessel unlike anything the Council had ever seen. 2 kilometers of sleek, dark metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. No visible weapons, no conventional engine ports, just smooth lines that defied traditional spacecraft design. This is the UES Nightweaver, Chen announced. The first of what we call the Shadow-class vessels. And yes, we built it in secret. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of protests. Representative Cathor, a methane-breathing giant from the Jovian Collective, slammed their environmental suits manipulator against their podium. This violates 17 different articles of the Coalition Charter. It would, Chen agreed, if we hadn't discovered something that superseded those articles. She paused, letting her words sink in. Tell me, honored representatives, what do you know about the Void Horizon? Silence fell over the chamber. The Void Horizon. The edge of mapped space where probes and ships simply disappeared. For centuries, it had been dismissed as a natural phenomenon, a region where the laws of physics broke down. 3 years ago, Chen continued, we sent a quantum-shielded probe into the horizon. It survived long enough to send back data. What we found? She tapped her interface again, and the hologram changed to show a mass of writing darkness, punctuated by flashes of impossible geometry. What we found was not empty space. It was alive. And it was hungry. The images showed massive structures, organic yet mechanical, moving with purpose through the void. The scale was difficult to comprehend, each structure larger than most solar systems. We built the Nightweaver not to threaten the Coalition, Chen explained, her voice growing softer. We built it because what lies beyond the horizon is coming. The disappearances are increasing. The barrier between our space and theirs is thinning. We estimate we have less than 5 years before first contact. High Chancellor Zixtal's crystalline form dimmed. Why didn't you bring this to the Council immediately? Chen's laugh was bitter. We tried. 3 times. Each time, our evidence was dismissed as inconclusive. Our warnings labeled as attempts to gain political leverage. So we did what humanity has always done. We prepared anyway. She gestured to the Nightweaver's hologram. This ship represents everything we know about science, pushed to its absolute limits. Quantum-locked dark matter reactors, consciousness-guided targeting systems, hull plating that exists in multiple dimensions simultaneously. But most importantly, she pressed a final command, and the hologram expanded to show hundreds of similar vessels under construction in hidden shipyards throughout human space. It's not alone. The chamber descended into chaos again, but this time with an undercurrent of fear rather than anger. Chen waited patiently until order was restored. "We're not asking for forgiveness," she concluded. "We're not even asking for permission. What we're offering is partnership." The Nightweaver and her sister ships were designed with modular systems specifically to incorporate technologies from other species. We have room for crew members from every coalition race, labs dedicated to combining our different scientific approaches, and enough space to serve as evacuation centers for entire planets if needed. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes, optical sensors, and sensory organs of each representative in turn. "The choice before you isn't whether to punish humanity for building these ships. The choice is whether we face what's coming alone or together." As the council chamber erupted in urgent discussions, Chen's neural interface pinged with a priority message from the Nightweaver. The void horizon was expanding, and it was doing so faster than their most pessimistic projections. They didn't have 5 years after all. They had 6 months. The testament of human engineering. The Nightweaver's central command deck hummed with activity as representatives from 17 different species crowded around holographic displays. Admiral Chen stood at the center, surrounded by a delegation of the Coalition's finest scientists and military experts. Above them, through the quantum glass viewport, the massive shipyards of Europa spread out like a web of crystalline threads. "The principles behind the Nightweaver's operation are actually quite simple," explained Dr. Maya Patel, the ship's chief engineer. Her dark hands danced through the holographic interface, bringing up cross-sections of the vessel's systems. "We didn't try to fight physics. We just found ways to work around it." Arkson, the lead scientist of the collective mind, their neural network glowing with skepticism, interrupted. "Simple? You've achieved what our civilization deemed impossible for millennia. Your power generation alone defies conventional physics." Maya smiled, pulling up a detailed view of the ship's core. "That's because we stopped thinking in terms of conventional physics. The quantum-locked dark matter reactor doesn't generate power. It harvests it from parallel dimensions, where the laws of thermodynamics operate differently." The assembled aliens watched in stunned silence as she demonstrated how the reactor worked. By maintaining quantum superposition of dark matter particles across multiple dimensions, the Nightweaver could tap into virtually unlimited energy without violating conservation of energy in any single universe. "But the power source is just the beginning," Maya continued, shifting the display to show the ship's neural interface systems. "The real breakthrough was in how we control it all." High Commander Kovacs of the militant Concordat leaned forward, their cybernetic eyes whirring as they analyzed the display. "Your crew interfaces directly with the ship's systems. The neural load would be fatal, using conventional methods," Maya agreed. "That's why we developed quantum consciousness integration. Each crew member's mind exists partially in the same quantum state as the ship's systems. They don't just control the ship, they become part of it." The revelation sent murmurs through the gathered representatives. Direct neural interfaces weren't new, but this level of integration was unprecedented. It explained how the Nightweaver had moved with impossible precision during the battle with the Kraxan fleet. The ship had literally been an extension of its crew's consciousness. "And the weapons systems?" asked military overseer Zena of the Strategic Alliance, their tentacles writhing with curiosity. Maya's expression grew serious. "Perhaps it's better if we demonstrate." She activated the ship-wide comm. "All hands, battle stations. Prepare for weapons demonstration Alpha 7. The Nightweaver's external cameras showed a series of automated drones deploying from the ship's hangars, taking up positions at varying distances. Maya brought up a tactical display showing weapon ranges that seemed to defy the known laws of physics. "Traditional weapons rely on delivering energy or matter to a target," she explained. "We took a different approach. The Nightweaver doesn't fire weapons, it rewrites local space-time." With a thought from the weapons officer, one of the drones simply ceased to exist. There was no beam, no projectile, no warning. One moment it was there, the next it had never been. A second drone imploded, crushed by a bubble of artificially generated gravity millions of times stronger than a black hole's. A third split into its constituent atoms, each one transported to a different dimension. By manipulating the fundamental forces of reality, Maya continued over the stunned silence. We can affect targets without having to worry about traditional defenses. No shield can block an attack that rewrites the physics of the space it occupies. The alien representatives stared in horror and awe at the displays. Humanity hadn't just built a powerful warship. They'd created something that fundamentally changed the nature of warfare itself. But the offensive capabilities are secondary, Admiral Chen interjected, sensing the growing unease. The Nightweaver's primary purpose is defense and evacuation. She nodded to Maya, who brought up schematics of the ship's internal spaces. We have stasis chambers capable of holding millions of refugees, Maya explained. Medical facilities that can treat any known species. Hydroponics bays that can produce food for a dozen different biochemistries. This ship was built to save lives, not take them. The tour continued for hours as Maya and her team revealed system after system, each more impressive than the last. Quantum computers that could simulate entire civilizations to predict tactical responses. Temporal sensors that could detect changes in the timeline. Dimensional anchors that could prevent local spacetime from being warped by outside forces. As the demonstrations concluded, Admiral Chen addressed the gathered representatives once more. Now you understand what we're offering. Not just a weapon, but a shield. Not just a ship, but a refuge. The Nightweaver and her sister ships represent humanity's commitment to defending all sentient life, regardless of origin. The silence that followed was broken by an urgent alert. The quantum sensors had detected something massive emerging from the void horizon. The threat they'd all feared was no longer theoretical. It was here. As the alien representatives rushed to contact their governments, Admiral Chen caught Maya's eye. They both knew that all the technological wonders they'd just demonstrated might not be enough for what was coming. But humanity had one more secret, one final card to play. The Nightweaver wasn't just humanity's greatest achievement, it was bait, and something in the void had just taken it. Trial by fire. The void horizon pulsed like a wound in space, its edges writhing with impossible geometries. On the Nightweaver's command deck, Admiral Chen watched as the tactical display tracked something massive emerging from the darkness. Behind her, representatives from the coalition races stood in stunned silence as their worst fears took physical form. Multiple contacts, announced Lieutenant Riza Khan. His consciousness merged with the ship's sensor arrays. Scale is unprecedented. Smallest object is roughly the size of Earth's moon. Largest is approaching Jupiter's dimensions. The entities that emerged defied conventional description. They were organic yet mechanical, their surfaces constantly shifting between states of matter. Tentacles of dark energy extended for millions of kilometers, tasting the fabric of space-time itself. By the first light, whispered High Chancellor Zixtal, their crystalline form dimming in fear. What are they? We call them void architects, Chen replied, her voice steady despite the tension. Based on our probe data, they're as old as the universe itself. They don't just consume matter and energy. They reshape reality to their own specifications. The largest entity suddenly accelerated, covering the distance between the void horizon and the coalition fleet in seconds. Its movement should have been impossible for something of its size, but it flowed through space as if the laws of physics were merely suggestions. All coalition vessels, maintain position, Chen ordered through the fleet-wide channel. This is what the Nightweaver was built for. Let us take the lead. The alien representatives watched in amazement as the human vessel, dwarfed by the cosmic horror before it, moved to intercept. The Nightweaver's quantum fields activated, causing it to exist in multiple states simultaneously, making it impossible for the entity to predict its exact position. They're scanning us, Maya reported from engineering, her consciousness spread through the ship's systems, attempting to analyze our technology, trying to access our quantum core. The entity struck without warning. A tendril of pure darkness lashed out, attempting to rewrite the local laws of physics. Space itself began to unravel around the Nightweaver, but the ship's dimensional anchors held firm. "Now we show them what humanity can do," Chen commanded. "Initiate Protocol Prometheus." The Nightweaver's quantum-locked dark matter reactor pulsed, channeling energy from 1,000 parallel dimensions. The ship's neural interface system lit up as every crew member's consciousness merged into a singular purpose. What happened next would be spoken about in Coalition space for centuries to come. The human vessel danced through impossible space, each movement predicted and executed with perfect precision. Where the entity tried to unmake reality, the Nightweaver reinforced it. Where cosmic horrors reached out with planet-destroying tendrils, the ship's weapons carved holes in spacetime itself. "Multiple smaller entities incoming," Khan reported. "They're adapting to our attack patterns." "Let them adapt," Chen replied with a grim smile. "Maya, initiate the Lazarus Protocol." The alien representatives gasped as the Nightweaver began to split apart, each section maintaining its own quantum field while remaining connected through higher dimensional space. The ship wasn't just fighting. It was evolving, changing its fundamental nature to match the threat. The battle raged across multiple dimensions, with the Void Architects attempting to consume everything in their path while the Nightweaver denied them at every turn. Coalition sensors struggled to track the conflict, recording only fragments of what was happening as reality itself buckled under the strain. Then something unexpected happened. The largest entity suddenly withdrew its attacks, its surface rippling with what almost looked like curiosity. "We're receiving a transmission," Khan announced, his voice filled with disbelief. "It's communicating." The message that came through the quantum communications array was unlike anything they'd ever encountered. It wasn't made of words or images, but pure concepts, transmitted directly into the minds of everyone present. Unexpected. Evolution. Potential. Assessment required. "They're not invaders," Chen realized, her eyes widening. "This was a test. They've been watching us, waiting to see if any species could reach their level of development." The entity's response confirmed her theory. More concepts flooded their minds. Guardians. Kers. Eeders of life. Waiting for worthy. Inheritors. The alien representatives looked at each other in shock as understanding dawned. The Void Architects hadn't come to destroy. They had come to evaluate. For billions of years, they had watched and waited, testing each civilization that arose, hoping to find one that could take their place as guardians of reality itself. "All this time," Maya whispered, "we thought we were preparing for war, but we were really preparing for graduation." The largest entity moved closer, its surface now rippling with patterns that seemed almost familiar. Through the quantum interface, it shared visions of other realities, other universes where the barriers between dimensions were breaking down. They needed successors, species capable of maintaining the integrity of spacetime itself. And humanity, with their quantum technologies and consciousness integration, had just proven themselves worthy candidates. As the implications of this revelation swept through the Coalition fleet, Admiral Chen faced a new and unexpected challenge. Humanity hadn't just built a weapon or a shield, they had inadvertently created the key to their species' cosmic destiny. The question now was, were they ready for such responsibility? And more importantly, would the rest of the Coalition accept humanity's sudden elevation to cosmic guardians? The Void Architects waited patiently for their answer, while reality itself held its breath. Part 4. The Price of Power. The emergency session of the Coalition Council stretched into its fourth day. The Grand Chamber on Nexus Prime, usually a model of order and decorum, had become an arena of heated debates and shifting alliances. At the center of it all stood Admiral Chen, her uniform still bearing the quantum burns from the encounter with the Void Architects. "You cannot seriously expect us to accept this," growled Ambassador Thor of the Jovian Collective, his massive form looming over the central podium. Humanity, barely a spacefaring species, chosen as guardians of reality itself. It's preposterous. Chen watched the proceedings with tired eyes. The past 72 hours had been a blur of diplomatic negotiations, scientific briefings, and increasingly heated arguments. The Void Architect's revelation had shattered the political balance of the coalition overnight. "With respect, Ambassador," she responded, her voice carrying the weight of exhaustion. "We didn't choose this role. We were chosen. And we're as surprised by it as you are." On the massive displays surrounding the chamber, data from the encounter played on endless loops. The Nightweaver's battle with the entities, the quantum communications, the visions of other realities, all of it analyzed and debated by hundreds of species. High Chancellor Zixel's crystalline form pulsed with concerned frequencies. "The issue isn't just the selection, Admiral. It's the implications. Your species now has access to knowledge that could unmake the universe itself. How can we trust you with such power?" Maya Patel stepped forward from her position behind Chen. The chief engineer's neural implants still sparked occasionally from the intense quantum feedback of the encounter. "Perhaps that's exactly why we were chosen," she suggested. "Because we understand the weight of this responsibility. We built the Nightweaver not to dominate, but to protect. Everything about its design, every innovation we created, was focused on preservation rather than destruction." The chamber erupted in a new round of arguments. Species that had been allies for millennia found themselves on opposite sides of the debate. The collective mind delegation had split into multiple factions, their neural networks literally dividing over the issue. In the midst of the chaos, Lieutenant Khan's quantum communicator chimed with an urgent signal. His face went pale as he read the message. He quickly made his way to Admiral Chen's side, whispering in her ear. Chen's expression remained neutral, but her hands tightened on the podium. "Honored representatives," she announced, her voice cutting through the din. "We've just received word from the Nightweaver's quantum sensors. The dimensional barriers are weakening faster than anticipated. We have less time than we thought." She gestured, and new data filled the displays. Graphs showing the integrity of space-time, measurements of quantum fluctuations, predictions of dimensional collapse. The numbers were clear and terrifying. "The Void Architects didn't just choose us," Chen continued. "They chose us now because they had to. The universe is facing a crisis that cannot wait for political debate." Maya stepped up to the technical display, her neural implants interfacing directly with the system. "The dimensional barriers between realities are failing. Without intervention, we're looking at total universal collapse within 5 years. The architects have been holding it together, but they're reaching the end of their strength. They need successors, and they need them now." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. This wasn't just about humanity's elevation or coalition politics. It was about the survival of everything that existed. "We understand your concerns," Chen said into the silence. "We share them. The power and knowledge we've been given is tremendous and terrifying. That's why we're proposing a compromise." She nodded to Maya, who brought up schematics of the Nightweaver's quantum integration systems. "We can modify the ship's neural interface to accommodate representatives from every coalition species. The responsibility of universal guardianship wouldn't fall to humanity alone, but to a unified team representing all sentient life." The proposal sent new ripples through the assembly. It was unprecedented. The sharing of such advanced technology went against every security protocol in the coalition's history. But then again, nothing about this situation had precedent. "There's more," Maya added, her voice soft but carrying to every corner of the chamber. "The quantum integration process, it changes you. When you connect with the ship, when you touch the fabric of reality itself, you understand things differently. You feel the weight of existence, the responsibility of guardianship, in your very being." She raised her hand, showing how her neural implants now pulsed with the same impossible geometries they'd seen in the Void Architects. "We're not just talking about sharing technology or power. We're talking about evolving together, becoming something new, something greater than any single species. The silence that followed was profound. Species that had been at each other's throats moments before found themselves contemplating a future none of them had imagined possible. But before the council could respond, every quantum sensor in the chamber screamed in alarm. The dimensional barriers were failing faster than expected. Reality itself was beginning to unravel. The time for debate was over. The universe needed its new guardians, ready or not. Unity through strength. The Nightweaver hung at the edge of known space, its quantum fields rippling with energy as reality itself began to break down around it. On the command deck, Admiral Chen stood surrounded by representatives from 20 different species, all connected to the ship's neural interface system through hastily adapted quantum integrators. Dimensional collapse accelerating. Lieutenant Khan reported, his consciousness merged not only with the ship's systems, but with the minds of 3 different coalition science officers. Multiple breaches detected across 7 sectors. Through the quantum glass viewport, they could see the fabric of space-time literally tearing apart. Stars winked out of existence as their dimensional anchors failed. Entire solar systems shifted between realities like fragments of a broken mirror. The Void Architects were right, Maya said, her voice resonating through both physical space and the shared quantum consciousness. We don't have years. We barely have hours. The coalition representatives, once skeptical of humanity's elevation, now stood united in desperation. The quantum integration had shown them the truth, the immensity of existence, the fragility of reality, and the absolute necessity of working together. We need to reach the primary breach point, High Chancellor Zixtal announced, their crystalline form now integrated directly with the ship's sensor arrays. The dimensional tear originated there. If we can seal it, the other ruptures should stabilize, Chen finished. But getting there. The space between their position and the breach point was a nightmare of twisted physics. Normal space, hyperspace, and quantum space had merged into a maelstrom of impossible geometries. No conventional ship could have survived it. But the Nightweaver was far from conventional. All stations, Chen commanded, her voice carrying through both verbal and neural channels. Prepare for dimensional translation. Maya, initiate the Ascension Protocol. The ship's quantum-locked dark matter reactor pulsed with energy drawn from 1,000 realities. The neural interface system expanded, connecting every mind aboard into a single, unified consciousness. Human intuition merged with alien logic, creating new ways of thinking, new ways of perceiving reality itself. The Nightweaver began to change. Its hull shifted through multiple states of matter simultaneously. New structures grew and evolved as the combined knowledge of 20 species reshaped the ship's very nature. This was why the Void Architects had chosen them, not just humanity, but all of them together. They moved through the dimensional storm like dancers through chaos. Every crew member, every representative, contributed their unique perspective to guide the ship. The crystalline logic of the Zixtal found paths through quantum space. The fluid consciousness of the collective mind predicted dimensional fluctuations. Human intuition and creativity bounded all together. As they approached the breach point, they saw them, the Void Architects, their massive forms straining against the collapse of reality. The ancient beings were failing, their strength finally giving out after billions of years of guardianship. Well-Immunity, the concepts flooded their shared consciousness. UAVTON. Through the quantum interface, they understood. The architects hadn't just been testing them. They had been teaching them, preparing them for this moment. Every challenge, every revelation, had been leading to this. We know what we have to do, Chen announced, looking at the assembled representatives. But it will take all of us. Everything we are. Everything we might become. There was no debate, no hesitation. Through the neural interface, they shared a single purpose. The Nightweaver's systems began to reconfigure one final time, transforming the ship into something that had never existed before, a bridge between realities, a key to the fundamental forces of existence. They reached up together, 20 species acting as one. The ship's quantum fields expanded, merging with the architect's own power. Through their combined consciousness, they could see the structure of reality itself, the threads that bound existence together, the points where they had begun to fray. The void architects lent their remaining strength, showing them how to weave reality back together. It was like trying to repair a tapestry while wearing it, each movement affecting all of existence. But together, they found a way. Human creativity provided the spark of inspiration. Coalition science supplied the precision. The architects' ancient knowledge guided their efforts. Reality began to stabilize, the dimensional tiers slowly closing as new barriers were woven into place. The process changed them. Through the quantum integration, they evolved into something new, not quite human, not quite alien, but guardians of reality itself. The Nightweaver became their anchor, transformed into a living repository of universal knowledge and power. As the last dimensional tear sealed and the cosmos stabilized, the void architects transmitted their final message. It is done. The mantle is PSS'd. Guard it well. Their massive forms began to fade, their substance dissolving into the quantum fabric of space-time. They had held reality together for billions of years. Now they could rest. In the aftermath, as the Coalition fleet approached the transformed Nightweaver, Admiral Chen looked at her crew, human and alien alike, all forever changed by what they had experienced. Through their shared consciousness, she felt their understanding, their acceptance of the responsibility they now carried. So, she said, both aloud and through the quantum link, "Shall we begin?" The universe stretched out before them, full of wonders and dangers they had only begun to understand, but they would face it together, guardians of a reality that belonged not to any one species, but to all of them. The Nightweaver's quantum drive engaged, and they set out into a cosmos that was, in many ways, new to them all. They had started this journey as divided species, suspicious and afraid. They emerged as something greater, proof that the true strength of the universe lay not in separation, but in unity. The age of the void architects was over. The age of the united guardians had begun. The end.